What's going on, everybody? I don't know. I'm kind of unsure what to talk about. I mean, there's a lot of things that when you find yourself arrested or in trouble with the law, or when you've done something at work that you shouldn't have done, um, those kinds of things that linger on from after the time of the event. So, it's not something that's very easy to deal with all the time, and it seems like from it's been my experience that holidays, today is actually Christmas. It's Christmas night, and I'm here working. It's about 14 degrees outside. It's very cold. It's very winter, and the holidays are kind of over, but kind of the middle of them too. So last night I was thinking about some things, and one of those things was Ashley, and watching some stuff on TV, and those kind of triggered some things and reminded me of some things that I haven't forgotten, certainly, but they brought them to the surface even more, and it's been 11 years since she died, and it bothered me a lot, and isn't it isn't that I was reminded to bother me. It was the actual events themselves and everything that happened, and having to relive and remember those things, and think about things kind of tangential to that, and on the side of it. We go through things in life. We have traumas. We have events that happen that we're a part of, or that we caused, or things that we did, or mistakes that we made. That's going to happen, and I try not to shy away from that, because it's a thing I've come to accept. It is that it's a part of the process, and I'm not a shrink. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a doctor. None of those things. But I can say that the process that I went through has been what it has been, and regardless of anything else, it's what I've gone through. A lot of people say that people when they're in a situation, or in an environment of stress, or strife, or emotional distress, they may appear one way or the other, whether that reaction doesn't seem appropriate. One thing I can think of, one example, a lot of people, and again, I don't make any judgments about other people and what they do, can have feelings about those things, but making judgments is different things. Try not to. I try to be very, very neutral on a lot of things, but one example that most people are going to recognize is that Casey Anthony, when her daughter was missing, there was pictures that were brought up during the criminal case that she had, that she appeared to be having the time of her life. She was partying. Whether or not that was a total lack of remorse or guilt for what she may or may not have done, I'm not sure. A lot of people said, though, didn't seem like an appropriate way to grieve, or for a reasonable person in that situation who has a daughter missing, a 2-year-old at that, to be acting. So I've had those situations where people looked at me and said, "This doesn't seem to add up." I don't know. People grieve and go through stuff the way they go through them, and that grief, it tends to come and go and come and go, and there's certain times, certain things of the year that are going to bring that up to the forefront more. Certainly holidays are one of those things. I was going through the case history of the adoption and the guardianship of my daughter, and I saw something in there that kind of struck me, so I called a lawyer that I had for that case and asked him some questions about it, and the explanation he gave seemed to make sense. So, that's one of those things where it's that issue, or that part of that situation is resolved for the most part. She's 16, going to be 17 here in a few months, and there's been no movement on it, no action on it. But this was from 2012, I think, that this event actually occurred on the case history, and I didn't understand it, so I wanted to ask questions about it. like I said, the explanation that he gave seemed to make sense. It was logical. It seemed to fit the things that were going on at the time. So, I don't know. I think a lot of people feel like, I know I, myself included, they feel like that because an event has happened, X amount of days or weeks or months or years ago, that there's certain benchmarks that should occur. So maybe 3 months later, this should have happened. Maybe 6 months later, that should have happened. A year later, so on and so forth. Not everybody's process and way of dealing with things is going to be the same. I can tell you without a shadow of shame in my mind or my voice, I still cry at times, when I think about things that could have been, or things that should have been, I feel like, had it not been for my actions. And that's, a lot of my friends, family have said, in a lot of different ways, whether it's direct, whether it's subtle, whatever it may be, that, you need to forgive yourself. You need to just let it go and forgive yourself. I can't do that. It's not some strange vigil. It's not a punishment process. It's what I did, and I'm not proud of that at all. I take no joy in what happened and what I caused and what I brought on all the people that I brought it onto. My family, myself, Ashley, her family, everyone included. The state, the prosecutors, media, witnesses, anyone that had anything to do with it. No joy, no pleasure, no joy whatsoever in that. But also, I know what happened, and that's important for me. It's important for a lot of other people, and I feel like to let this become something that it hasn't been, when it's such a formative and important and just hideously awful event, to let that pass in my mind is something that I don't deserve to do, and I don't deserve to have that happen. And if there's some kind of relief from that, I certainly don't deserve that relief. I did this. I caused this. Tonight I was I was at McDonald's and getting some food, and pretty busy. And there was an ambulance that was there that is now the new owner of the company that I used to work for. A national company bought the ambulance service that I used to work for. So, whenever I go into places, whether it's gas station, restaurant, whatever it may be, and I see EMS crews, whether it's the city, the old service, or the new company that bought them, or anyone else that works in EMS, I have some weird feelings about that. I think, are they doing what I did? Are they going to go home and put an IV into their wife? Are they going to go and steal some supplies to give to their family, whether it's good intentioned or not? And that, I don't think by any stretch of the imagination that all EMTs and paramedics are bad. I don't believe most of them are bad at all. They're not. But I think to someone looking at me back in 2008, 2009, would they say that I was bad looking at me? Probably not. So you never know what someone's struggles and things they're going through at home. I went up to him and I approached him. I said, "Hey, how's it going?" The medic, I didn't recognize he was a paramedic. He had a rocker panel on his uniform. Then found him as a paramedic. I didn't know him, didn't know the EMT that was working with him. They were both in there together, looking at their phones, waiting on their food like everyone else. Approached him, gave him my card, told him that I had an ethics presentation that I'd like to present, and told him thanks for what they're doing. It's a very hard job, period, working in EMS, and it's also very hard right now. Long hours and concerned about getting the dreaded pandemic disease and being out of work, having it affect your health, your family. So it's not an easy job, and I very truly understand that. But I gave them my card and told them if they wanted to hear more about it to call me, and I hope they do. But I also noticed something else. I noticed that they were very affectionate toward each other. You know, that happens. People that are in that line of work, they become closer, and then they develop relationships, or maybe it's an extramarital relationship. I'm not sure. An old adage of EMS is earn money sleeping or extramarital sex. It's an old abbreviation for that line of work, and it does happen. And it's because of the environment and the stress that you're in. So that's really all I have for tonight. It's about 10.5 minutes in. I'm trying to keep this one short. Everyone have a safe year. Take care of each other. Take care of yourselves. Thanks. Bye.